All right, this is Coach EJ, the brand.
And Coach Aaron, Big Pen, the source.
Welcome to our podcast today, people. Aaron, I want to talk about this subject that's been coming up a lot. It's interesting because in this day and age, we see a lot of athletes not being responsive, kind of conditioned to listen to the coach, and then coach tells them what to do, and then they do it without even thinking about what they're trying to do or what they're trying to accomplish. They're kind of like, okay, coach said it, I go do it. Instead of them instinctively going out and making an adjustment or thinking ahead, what could I do to get better? Or what do I need to do in the process? Whether it's training, whether it's in the game, whether it's just in a lot of things, even outside of the sport. It seems like they're conditioned to wait for somebody older to tell them what to do, and then they do it. And they don't respond or respond like athletes should in being reactive and responsive to events, whether it's failure, success, or adjusting to certain things that happen.
Right. Yeah. I had a conversation that I think relates to this earlier in this week, and I can't quite remember it verbatim, but basically what I was saying was that these kids they're in organized training at such an early age. It's almost like an indoctrination on how to act, and they in other words, my reply to the guy was they're coached too much, and they don't know how to improvise, or they don't know how to think outside the box, or they just kind of do things by just kind of following the directions, whether it's right or wrong. They don't do the math and say, hey, well, okay, if I do this way, what's going to happen? Is it going to end out well for me, or is it not? They just say, okay, well, coach says do it this way, I'm going to do it. And they don't kind of take in maybe any, extenuating circumstances, or,
right,
kind of survey the environment around them, or,
right.
You know what I'm saying? They don't kind of take in the situation and apply what they've learned. They just say, it's almost like, okay, this is what I've taught, square peg, I'm going to put it in a round hole. And they don't wait and sit back and say, well, hold it, this isn't gonna work in this instance. Let me, try something else, even though it might be off script. And again, I don't know if it's because I think, in my opinion, I think it's because they're in organized sports too early, too soon. And so when you have that as your basis versus play, where play is a lot more loose and free and exploratory, they don't have that ability to improvise or maybe read the situation and say, hey, I need to do this differently. Or maybe they don't even have a variety of tools to be able to do something differently, because they haven't approached it and seen it in different ways that they could, have an answer for it.
Right. It seems like they're so conditioned, like you said, that it's even when they arrive at a facility or at a practice field or a venue, it's like, okay, where do I go? And it's been explained to them before, this is what you do when you get to your venue. This is how you react in a situation. It's like, okay, what do I do? It's like, well, we explained this 10 or 12 times earlier. Do you remember? It's like they don't recall. I don't know if they're listening or they're just hearing. There's a difference.
Exactly. Yeah.
Are they really doing that? And it seems like athletes in this generation right now are having trouble adjusting to circumstances. What the track's wet, or the playing surface is wet. Coach, what do I do?
Right.
I'm having tryouts. Okay, and give me some tips.
Right.
Well, what we've been doing the past 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
Tryout, man. What tips do you need? What kind of tips you need? What else do you need?
Right.
We've been preparing you for the process. Stay to the process. Stay to your plan. Move forward. adjust accordingly. If you're not having tryouts outside and they take it to a gym or somewhere, adjust the situation. You know, make sure you have your shoes. Like, oh, I forgot my shoes. You know, like, prepare yourself. What was the weather like in the morning? It was raining, you know? Understand that you need to adjust. So I feel that athletes these days, like you said, they're too organized. And, you know, I really question that's taught too early at home. It's, you know, let the kids fail. Let the kids figure some things out first. It doesn't mean you can't guide them. You don't guide them. That's not what we're saying here. We're saying you have to allow the players, these young athletes, to mess up and to have failure and to keep moving forward and to adjust. Sometimes I don't even reply to some of our athletes and see if they can figure it out have a thought process on their own. I just stare at them and go, yes. Well, what do you, and I just stare at them. And then they start going through the process. Okay, A, B, C, D. And then they say, hey, coach, what about this? I said, there you go. Yeah. There you go. Now you're thinking like a responsive athlete should.
Right. No, I agree, because when you always are doing for them or laying things out or providing them with the answer, I think you also take away their initiative, you know, their ability to be initiative in a lot of circumstances. So they end up being conditioned to, and I've seen this in the gym where I've seen a kid, you know, come across a problem. The first thing he does, he steps back and looks at me. And it's like, no, all you got to do is, you know, move that big plate out from behind the little plate. You know? It's like,
what am I supposed to do?
Yeah. You know, and I again, I think that just comes from, you know, society's changed a lot, and we've got, you know, helicopter parents. We've got parents who are really, you know, trying to orchestrate their kids' success. And
that's hard.
And because you have they're in such a structured environment, and probably not even say structured, controlled environment, so that it's controlled to the extent that they, you know, the ability to fail is not there, the ability to take risk is not there, the ability to think on their feet and be, you know, creative is all kind of taken away. And so they have this, you know, I call it kind of breadcrumb mentality. All they do is wait for the breadcrumbs to be out there to follow the course. And, and that's one of the things I don't do at my facility is, you know, I want the kids engaged, and I want them to take ownership in their routine. And I want them to stew in their juices a little bit and try and figure something out before they come to me. And that's not, you know, that's by design in my facility, because I'm trying to break some of these kids of that. Now, obviously we don't want kids who are just reckless and, you know.
Right, exactly. You don't want to be reckless at all.
Exactly. But I think there's something to be said about that. And I think that builds some of the things that parents are looking for athletes to get out of sports, you know, confidence, problem solving, handling success and failure, all of those things that make them better. Adults are in, you know, can be in the sporting environment if you have the correct sporting environment. But again, we're talking about an environment that basically, you know, is going to penalize them every time they're wrong or go off script, and it's only this way to get there. Then you're going to end up with, you know, what we see a lot of, robots. And so, it's tough. And I know why, you know, that environment exists, because of, you know, parents want their kids to be safe. They want things to be somewhat predictable, so that, you know, but then again, how do you develop those abilities, especially if they're not going out and playing, exploring, and doing some of the other things that we did as kids that built those sorts of qualities in us.
Yeah, I don't see kids go out playing. You know, I mean, as you refer to coming out, that's a street kid, EJ.
Yeah.
You know, that means he's been on the street playing. You know, he's been on the street playing, and that's when kids can be responsive. They can lead on their own and do some things that are important for them to kind of move forward in a process of adulthood, you know. And this is only a small microcosm of their life, actually, and where it's going. And I think a lot of times, you know, parents always say this: hey, sport is great, it's going to end one day, you know. So we're preparing them for life issues that can help them, like you said, be problem solvers, work as a team. All this stuff is just a small microcosm of their life. So I agree with you 100% there, Aaron. It's well said today about this conditioned athlete, as we say today.
Yeah, I mean, you know, just to end it, you know, I would say there's nothing wrong with this little struggle, and there's nothing wrong with some scars. Everyone learns from that and grows from it. You're always, you know, you always come out stronger.
Absolutely. Well, hey people, that ends our podcast today. This is Coach EJ, the brand,
and Coach Aaron Thigpen, the source.
We'll check you out later.
See ya.